Archangel Michael says, the silence in your soul lately has echoed like thunder in their heart. They have noticed your energy retreating like a wave pulling back from the shore before a storm. You didn't announce it with words, but the shift was loud, the pull undeniable. They can feel you have unplugged something sacred between you both, and it haunts them even in moments when everything around them is still. The connection you once nurtured has gone quiet, and that silence is now deafening. They didn't expect you to ever pull back, not like this. They feel the distance even before they open their eyes in the morning, like a missing piece beside their soul. It's in the way they instinctively reach for you in thought and realize your energy isn't holding them like before. Something deep has changed, and it's shaking them to their core. You stopped giving light to someone who played in your shadows for too long. You have slowly pulled yourself out of their tangled energy, and now, they're starting to panic. They know they've hidden something, and they fear you've finally seen too much. Type Amen to get blessing 333. There's a heavy truth they never wanted you to find out. But your spirit has always been sharper than they imagined. Even without a word, you saw what they tried to keep under the rug. Archangel Michael says, your soul knew the weight of the secrets before your mind could speak them. The withdrawal wasn't sudden, it was slow like dusk turning into night. Now the night is here, and they're standing in it, wondering why it feels so cold. The universe heard the tears you didn't cry out loud. The tension of the truth held behind your eyes was loud enough. And now that you've chosen yourself, the atmosphere between you and them has shifted completely. They keep replaying the last time you looked at them with softness. But it's not there anymore, and it frightens them. What you gave was once pure, but now it feels guarded. Type Amen to get blessing 781. They've been trying to reach you spiritually, hoping to find that spark again. But your spirit doesn't answer them the same way anymore. You've stepped into your power, and that threatens every lie they lived behind. They know what they did. Even if they never confessed it, they know it was the turning point. Now the memory of what they didn't say burns louder than the words they ever spoke. Your energy used to embrace them even from a distance. But now that warmth has become a wall. A wall they built themselves, brick by brick, with their secrets and their silence. They never thought you would notice the energy games. But you noticed. You always did. You were just hoping they would change before you had to choose peace over presence. Type Amen to get blessing 629. They feel your absence in every breath. They scroll through your old messages, rereading things they once took for granted. There's a hollow echo now, and it's not coming from you, it's coming from them. They once believed they had endless time to make things right. But time moved, and you moved with it, no longer pausing for their patterns. What you once gave freely now costs more than they can afford. Their hands are empty, and so is the space you once filled. Your energy used to wrap them like a blanket, and now they're shivering under the weight of their own guilt. Regret follows them like a shadow. They keep whispering your name into the void, hoping you'll feel it. But the void no longer belongs to you, it belongs to them. You've reclaimed your soul. Type Amen to get blessing 942. They've been watching you rise in silence, trying to decipher how you've managed to glow brighter while walking away. You didn't fight or scream, you simply disconnected. And that's what haunts them most. They expected a breakdown, not silence. But silence can be a louder punishment than any words could ever be. They now understand that you were the peace they never deserved. The secrets they held were wrapped in pretty lies. You unwrapped them, one by one, until all that was left was the truth. And the truth broke the spell they had over you. They can't reach you the same way anymore. The cord is cut, not by anger, but by clarity. And clarity has been your best weapon. Type Amen to get blessing 277. They've started losing sleep over things they thought were buried. Guilt is waking them up at 3 a.m., showing them flashbacks of the moments they betrayed your trust. They thought you'd never notice, but your soul always knew. The little lies. The glances. The deflections. All of them have unraveled. And with each unraveling, your energy pulled back more and more. They are haunted by what they lost without a fight. You didn't beg, you didn't chase. You simply became unavailable. Now they're chasing a version of you that no longer exists. The version they betrayed with their dishonesty. The version who loved them in their darkest moments. Type Amen to get blessing 115. They see now that they mistook your softness for weakness. But pulling back was the strongest thing you could ever do. You stopped bleeding for someone who kept handing you knives. Archangel Michael says, you chose healing over holding. You chose your own peace over their chaos. And that choice broke the power they had over your spirit. They didn't realize they were the storm until you became the calm. Now your calm is what they miss the most. You were their anchor, and now they're drifting. The mask they wore has fallen, and your spirit sees it all clearly now. You've learned to read energy before words. And what you read in them made you withdraw for good. Type Amen to get blessing 490. If you wish to express your support further, you have the option to give super thanks, with contributions of up to $20. They feel like they're standing at the edge of a cliff, watching you walk into the distance. They want to scream but their voice has lost its weight. They want to run to you but their lies have tied their feet. They tried to keep you close while keeping secrets even closer. That was the game. But you changed the rules by no longer playing. They feel powerless now. Watching you grow, glow, and guard your spirit. Your silence is more powerful than their apologies. You're not who you were when they met you. And they know they can't meet you as they are now. They'd have to transform to even be in your presence again. Type Amen to get blessing 804. The energy you've reclaimed is glowing like armor around your soul. People are noticing it. Even strangers are seeing your light shift. You've learned to protect your frequency. No more overextending. No more explaining your intuition. No more excusing their patterns. They miss you, but they miss who you were. You're no longer that version. You've outgrown the chapter where you waited on their honesty. They feel like they're reading an old book and realizing the ending changed. But the ending didn't change, you did. You stopped playing the part they wrote for you. Type Amen to get blessing 229. They've tried reaching out energetically, hoping you'll send a sign. But all they get is the echo of your silence. The peace you found has blocked their access. They feel locked out of a home they took for granted. That home was your heart. And now the key doesn't work anymore. You didn't change overnight. It was gradual. It was intentional. And now that you've arrived at this version of yourself, you're not going back. You've learned how to hear silence. You've learned how to honor your intuition. And above all, you've learned how to walk away quietly with power. Type Amen to get blessing 378. Your person now knows they've lost access to something divine. And they can't undo the damage. The distance is growing, not because of hatred, but because of truth. You aren't bitter. You're better. Not because of what they did, but because you chose to rise from it. They were used to you holding space for them, even when they didn't deserve it. But now, that space has been reclaimed. And they feel the emptiness where your light used to be. You've become sacred ground, and they finally see it. But this time, they don't have the shoes to walk where your soul now lives. Type Amen to get blessing 1000. They've started to realize that your silence was never indifference, it was healing. The moment you stopped reacting, they knew the bond had fractured beyond repair. And now they live in that fracture, trying to rebuild what they themselves broke. They never expected you to outgrow the pain. But you did, quietly and powerfully. You became the version of yourself that no longer tolerates uncertainty or disrespect. They reminisce on old conversations, rereading words you once said with sincerity. But those words don't belong to you anymore. You've evolved into someone who speaks only when the soul is honored. Now, they're left trying to access a frequency they can't match. Your elevation has placed you above their reach. What used to feel close now feels like a different dimension. Type Amen to get blessing 874. They hear your name in songs and whispers. They search for your face in dreams, only to wake up to the truth of your absence. Every sign the universe sends them now is a reminder of what they let slip. You aren't just a memory, you are the proof that love can transform, even if it means letting go. Your retreat wasn't punishment. It was preservation. Archangel Michael says, you were divinely guided to withdraw your energy when the truth started staining your spirit. And now your angels are protecting that decision with fierce grace. They are feeling what you once did. Confusion. Emptiness. Longing. But now, the roles have reversed, and you no longer seek them in your peace. Type Amen to get blessing 616. They wanted access to your love without respecting its weight. But your love was never casual, it was a sanctuary. Now the doors are closed, and they don't have the key. You were always transparent with your soul. But they mistook your openness for vulnerability. They forgot that even open windows can be closed when storms approach. They once held your name in their hands but didn't handle it with care. Now they whisper it like a prayer, hoping for forgiveness you've already given, but from afar. They feel you pulling back even in the spiritual realm. The thread has thinned. And they're afraid it might break forever. Type Amen to get blessing 402. They keep checking their phone, hoping to see your name light up the screen. But it stays dark, like the energy between you two. You've stopped chasing closure. You've created your own. They used to expect your attention without effort. But now, the silence is their teacher. And it's a harsh one. The way you reclaimed your space has made them reflect deeply. They see the truth now, not just about you, but about themselves. What they once hid now lives in the open. You're no longer emotionally available for untruths. You've built boundaries where there were once bridges. And they're still standing at the shore. Type Amen to get blessing 557. They're beginning to feel the same isolation they once made you feel. That's what they didn't expect, the mirror. They thought you'd always hold on. But you let go. Your energy doesn't bend anymore. It stands tall. And that height is something they can't reach without growing first. They're at war with their ego and their heart. One says stay silent. The other screams to reach for you. But it's too late for echoes to reach where you now reside. You didn't walk away in anger. You walked away in self-respect. And that, to them, is the loudest goodbye. Type Amen to get blessing 701. Every time they feel joy, there's a pause, a shadow of your memory reminding them what they lost. You were their anchor in chaotic waters. Now they're left adrift. They thought silence would give them control. But now that silence has become their prison. And freedom wears your name. Archangel Michael says, the divine had to remove you for them to finally understand your value. Your withdrawal wasn't the end, it was a divine redirection. They're being made to witness your growth from afar. And that's a pain they cannot numb. Your distance is medicine to your soul and a wound to theirs. Type Amen to get blessing 308. They've tried distracting themselves, but nothing fills the void. Your presence wasn't just emotional, it was spiritual. And that kind of absence leaves echoes in every room. The love you gave was light, but they took it like air, necessary, invisible, and easily forgotten until it's gone. Now they're gasping for what once came freely. You are no longer in a place where breadcrumbs satisfy your spirit. Your soul wants feasts of truth, loyalty, and growth. And they haven't cooked those meals in a long time. They sit with the realization that you weren't asking for too much. You were asking them to rise. And now, your elevation feels like abandonment to them. Type Amen to get blessing 994. Your strength is confusing to them. They always saw your heart but never truly saw your power. Now that power is what they're being forced to reckon with. You used to overthink the silence between you two. Now, you honor it. Because in the stillness, you found yourself again. They're learning that people who truly love you don't keep you in confusion. They bring clarity, consistency, and safety. And they offered none of that. So you reclaimed what they kept taking, your light. And now, they miss your fire but fear your flame. Type Amen to get blessing 221. They feel you closing the chapter, even if they're still stuck on the last page. But you've moved on to new stories where your worth isn't questioned. They can't access your spirit anymore, not because you vanished, but because you evolved. And evolution always leaves behind those who refuse to grow. Archangel Michael says, your spirit is now aligned with people who understand your soul without needing you to explain it. You've entered a timeline of peace, and peace doesn't entertain chaos. They used to think silence meant weakness. Now they understand it was your shield. You weren't hiding, you were healing. Type Amen to get blessing 479. Their energy lingers in places where you used to wait. But now you no longer wait, you walk. And every step forward leaves their memory further behind. They replay your laugh, your words, your love. But it doesn't reach you anymore. You've become a memory they can't touch. They thought pulling away would bring you closer. But instead, you vanished into your own light. And that light is too pure for their shadow games. Your withdrawal is their wake-up call. But some calls come too late. And your line no longer accepts that frequency. Type Amen to get blessing 880. You're being rewarded for your retreat. Not with revenge, but with renewal. Not with chaos, but with clarity. They feel like the ground has crumbled beneath them. Because you were the ground. You were the one holding things steady. Now that you're no longer available, they're learning how unbalanced their foundation was. You were the peace in their storm. And now the storm is all they have left. This withdrawal wasn't rejection, it was resurrection. You've returned to yourself. And that's the most beautiful return of all. Type Amen to get blessing 774. They sit in silence now, consumed by the emptiness that echoes louder than your words ever did. Every place they once felt your love now stings with absence. Their world looks the same, but it doesn't feel the same, because your energy has left it. They underestimated the effect of your withdrawal. But now, every breath feels heavier without your presence. They didn't just lose a person, they lost their lifeline. They try to mimic the love you once gave, but it never feels the same. Because you didn't just offer love, you offered understanding, grace, and presence. That kind of energy doesn't return once it's gone. Their hands feel empty no matter how full their life may seem. Because your spirit used to fill spaces that no one else could reach. And now, it's only them and their regrets. Type Amen to get blessing 119. They keep trying to manifest you back, but manifestation doesn't work without transformation. You withdrew your energy because they didn't do the inner work. Now they're stuck in a cycle that can't summon you back. They are beginning to realize that your silence is not meant to provoke, but to protect. It protects your sanity, your soul, your future. And it pierces them more than anger ever could. You didn't walk away hoping they'd chase. You walked away because your spirit was tired of bleeding slowly. And now, you're finally breathing deeply again. They're now trying to decode every moment, every sigh, every goodbye you gave before the final one. But those signs weren't subtle. They simply weren't listening. Type Amen to get blessing 506. You saw the red flags not with your eyes, but with your energy. And once your energy said no, the rest of you followed. That's what they didn't expect. Now, they see your face in the quiet moments, the ones they used to rush through. Because now they know, what they ran past was the very thing keeping them grounded. Archangel Michael says, their soul is facing a mirror they can't run from. It shows them everything they ignored, every truth they denied, and every moment they thought your love would cover it. But your love was never meant to be a bandage. It was meant to be a garden. And they poisoned it by hiding too much in the soil. Type Amen to get blessing 847. They want your attention back, but they don't want to change the actions that made you walk away. That's the tragedy, they miss you, but not enough to rise. You no longer respond to breadcrumbs. You require full nourishment now. And that's something they don't know how to offer. You've upgraded your soul while they still repeat old patterns. That gap grows wider every day, and now it feels like a canyon they can't cross. Their comfort zone became your prison. But you broke out. And they're still stuck in the patterns you refuse to be trapped in. Type Amen to get blessing 362. They believed you would always be there, regardless of their actions. But they never imagined your love had boundaries too. Now they're learning about those boundaries the hard way. Your absence is not revenge, it's revelation. A divine interruption of the cycle you once excused. And that revelation is burning in their soul. They've lost access to your frequency. They can't connect with you spiritually because they're still vibrating in dishonesty, and you've risen into truth. Now, the distance feels eternal. Not because you're angry, but because you're awakened. And they don't recognize this version of you. Type Amen to get blessing 931. They replay the last conversation over and over, trying to find where it went wrong. But the cracks were there long before the final goodbye. They were just too wrapped in illusion to notice. Now your silence sounds like thunder in their ears. Every room they enter feels cold without your energy warming it. You've become the ghost that haunts their conscience. You're not punishing them. You're protecting you. And that is a power they never thought you'd claim. They've lost the version of you who tolerated uncertainty. And the new version isn't waiting for closure. The new version has peace. Type Amen to get blessing 444. Your glow now comes from within, not from being accepted or understood. You no longer beg for love. You embody it. They thought detachment would scare you. But instead, it elevated you. They thought you needed them. But it was their soul that was attached to your light. They thought they had time. That they could return and everything would be the same. But your silence has rebuilt you. And that version no longer fits in their old world. They are now craving the version of you they didn't appreciate. And you've become the soul they can admire but never reach. Type Amen to get blessing 523. Even if they came back today with promises and tears, it wouldn't change the energy. Because your soul has reset. The reset has closed the doors for good. They've lost the one who used to believe in their potential more than they did. And now, they must sit with their own unhealed wounds. Archangel Michael says, sometimes distance is divine correction. Your absence is their curriculum. Their growth must now come without your comfort. They can no longer borrow your strength. They must find their own. And until they do, they will remain trapped in regret. Type Amen to get blessing 700. You were not just a person to them, you were an awakening. A moment of truth wrapped in love. And they failed the test. Now, they realize what it feels like to lose someone who didn't just care, but cared deeply. They remember how your love had no conditions. How your presence gave them light. But you are not that same person anymore. You've turned inward and discovered the beauty of your own spirit. And that discovery has no space for deception. They will remember you in every silent night. But you will only remember them as the lesson that helped you grow. Type Amen to get blessing 614. They thought the silence meant they had time to fix things. But silence, for you, meant finality. You don't revisit what your soul has already graduated from. Their emotions are a storm now. Because they know they caused the drought. You only left because you were tired of being rained on. Your peace is proof that healing can be quiet. Your joy is a reminder that you no longer carry what broke you. They wish they were still part of your story, but the ink has dried. You didn't just walk away, you reclaimed the pen. And now, you're writing a life without illusions. Type Amen to get blessing 855. They still whisper your name in hopes that the universe will deliver it back to you. But your spirit no longer tunes into their frequency. You've evolved beyond reach. They'll meet people who remind them of you. But none will carry your spirit. None will offer what you gave so freely. Your absence is their mirror. Their silence is your closure. And your growth is the beginning of something sacred. This chapter ends not with anger, but with grace. And grace doesn't go backward. Type Amen to get blessing 389.